This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
When you take a moment to pause, to go, what's really important? What am I doing with my time here? What I'm finding is it's really important to protect my peace and get off that hamster wheel in those back-to-back Zoom meetings and create the time and space to be more creative.
I am truly excited for this conversation. You want to know why?
You asking me why?
Oh, I'm coming right. We're jumping right in.
Let's go. Yeah. Why are you so excited about this conversation, Ryan?
Oh, thank you so much for serving it up, Gene. Because when you look at all the things that you've done and you've got a cool path. Yeah, I feel like there's a moment in time right now where you're the chaos and or the reality of a Disney or a Walmart or an agency. Like you know, we're kind of like, I think you put this on your Instagram, which I like hashtag the art of pause, right? Like you are in this moment where you can actually extract yourself, step back from all the amazing things you've been able to work on and kind of go, okay, what's best for Gene? And you've done a lot and seen a lot. So like, I'm just excited that it's not like you have, I mean, I'm sure you're busy. I mean that, but like, you don't have like a meeting and then a meeting and then a meeting and then a meeting and then a 15 and you're just, it can get exhausting. So maybe my first question truly is like, how are you? Like, how are you really?
I am fantastic. Thank you for asking. I describe this time, this incredible time, as I'm in between successes. And I am, as you mentioned, leaning into the art of the pause. And I've discovered that it is an art, right? That I'm giving myself permission to pause, which is not something we do often in business, right? We live in this culture of busy, of productivity, of what's the next thing, of climbing, you know, the chasing the next thing. And this time to rest and reflect and renew and breathe. I'm off the hamster wheel, right? Which is phenomenal. And I think it's kind of like boiling the frog. Like you really don't realize that when you're in it, how hot the damn water is. And I live on the beach, so I walk on the beach, I meditate, I get in that water regardless of how cold it is. I hike, I do yoga. I've been traveling, which we've all put off for years with the pandemic. I love to cook, I write, I read, I spend time with people I love, my kids, my friends, my family. It's funny because I talked with a friend of mine recently about not feeling productive, and she goes, yeah, you're being super productive as a human.
Yeah.
And it is that, we're human beings, not human doings. And so I realize the privilege that I have to take this time after working 30 plus years nonstop. And the only time I really took off was to have those other human beings. And so that's, anybody who's had a kid realizes it's not a vacation to take maternity or paternity leave, right? It's a kind of a blur. So it's an incredible time for me, a reflective time. And I feel so physically, mentally, and spiritually healthy, like I haven't in years.
It's amazing. The trifecta.
Yeah, exactly.
So I should also step back and say happy birthday to you. Did you have a happy birthday?
I did. Well, I'm thinking about his birthday month. So I feel like it's still my birthday month, but thank you for that. I celebrated turning 57.
Amazing.
And I like to think of it as the age of wisdom. My birthday happens to be on Valentine's Day. So it's day. It's hard to forget. And if you do, then you're in real big trouble. But it's also a really hallmark holiday. So don't try to get a reservation for dinner. And so I went out with one of my favorite people to the desert and went to Joshua Tree and hiked and felt both the sun on my face and hail coming down. And it's great. I really enjoy being out in nature. I think it's really an inspirational place.
Yeah, this is a tell to the audience. So obviously we're not here live. It is February 24th today. So you're 10 days into the new year. My birthday is March 2nd. So like
happy birthday almost. You're almost into your month.
We're almost there. We're almost there. You know, I love I love birthdays. I really do. And I think it's like birthdays and New Year's resolutions, like New Year's Day and birthdays, I think are data points. Like if people do like birthdays, usually they like New Year's, the idea of New Year's. And I think if people don't like birthdays, they probably don't like New Year's or New Year's resolutions. And here's my like take on this. You tell me if this like a head nod or not. I feel like when you like a birthday, you're basically auditing this, right or wrong, an expectation you had at where you thought you would be at that mark. Okay. So for me at 47, which is what I'll be on March 2nd, I mean, I'm like, oh my God, I never thought, I never had any intention of this. Like I just, I'm very happy with the curiosity and the places that it's taken me. And so therefore I like birthdays. That's me. When you look at all the amazing things you've done, both being a human and being a human in business, do you feel similar?
I agree that I love birthdays. I love celebrations. And I think for many of us, and again, I'll go kind of high level society, we're not great at celebrating aging. And anti-aging is a terminology that I would love banned from marketing and just society as a whole. So I like celebrating it. And it's interesting even thinking about being in the ad industry, and it was kind of taboo to talk about your age. Just, you know, hitting 50 was a big deal. And when I was very public about celebrating my 50, it's like it's easy to age out. And I've just taken it as like kind of the way I've taken on my career. It's like showing up authentically. I am who I am. I'm not hiding my age. And you can keep doing this. And it's a state of mind. And so this idea of, you know, going into this next chapter of life and feeling great about it and just seeing the possibilities. Like I never in my wildest dreams when I was however young thought of I would be where I am today, right? And I, you know, when I was studying and when I was a punk ass kid and I didn't even want to go to college, and you know, I started thinking about going into design, and then I got shifted into advertising and I fell in love. I was a little bit snooty about it. You know, it's like, oh, design is more purist, advertising is selling your soul. And
Yeah.
I had a professor, which so many teachers really influence people's lives, who said, you should really be in advertising. I'm like, no, thank you. Well, I'm going to start my own design business, which was hard as anything on your own in New York. And he called me into freelance. And I was an assistant art director for him. And he said, I want to hire you. You did great. I told you you'd be great at this. And I said, no, really, I'm going to give my business a try. And he talked me into it. He said, give me 6 months. And if you hate it, no hard feelings, and you go back to doing your thing. And I stayed, he left in 6 months and I stayed for 5 years. And that was when I was at Saatchi. So even then it was like what I thought I was going to do kept shifting. And then I think what started to happen is it drove that, like, what's the next thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I never, and what does success look like? And even what I thought success looked like 2 years ago to what I think it is now, you know, success 2 years ago was getting a chief creative officer role, like living on the beach, making an impact, leaving the world a better place. And today I think it's very different. I think success is very different, but
Well, you can't leave us
I
hanging.
I wouldn't trade any of it for the world, you know, like what a journey.
Well, hold on, but like, okay, so success looks very different. You know, to me, like, there's a stain. There's some stain on the brain, right? That was like, wait, I thought success was this, and now success is something else. And to be fair, I mean, you do live on the beach. You did have the title. You have the title, right? You've done it.
Yeah.
Is this about like stories get pointed forward, or you go through these experiences and realize, oh shoot, actually, I fulfillment and success is actually this more than that. Like, what
Yeah.
is success?
I think it's more internal versus external validation. And I think coming out of the pandemic for many of us, and I did have a hard year, a couple of years, just personally. My dad died, my dog died, my marriage ended. I moved. My sister and my sister-in-law got breast cancer, and you know, and you're aging, and you're starting to go, okay. I started a new job in a pandemic. I left that role, and I think it was a lot of learning, but also thinking like when you take a moment to pause, again to go, what's really important? And we are on this planet for a finite time, right? And not to be gloom and doom about it, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
But what am I doing with my time here? And really, what it gets a little existential. What is the meaning of life, and what is my purpose, and what impact can I have, and what's really important? And I think what I'm finding or feeling in this phase is it's really important to protect my peace. It's really important to be in flow and feel joy and get off that hamster wheel and those Zoom back-to-back Zoom meetings, and create the time and space to be more creative.
Yeah.
And to have more innovation and strategy and proactivity in the creativity that I do.
I adore this line you have on your LinkedIn profile that's ruthlessly committed to making an impact. And, obviously now context is king here a little bit, right? So I'm curious if this is a new line on your profile, or if it's something that's been there and just like you believe it's been there for 10 years, or is it like as you kind of have this moment to breathe and you can be reflective, you're like, you know what? This is an opportunity, this is a rebirth, right? Like let me rewrite this, and bam, here comes the line, ruthlessly committed to making an impact. I should go to what is it, the Wayback Machine? We can actually
Yeah,
go
you can
and
go in the
check.
Wayback Machine. I'm a
No,
fan.
so how new is the line? And tell me more about it.
I have definitely been writing different things and different expressions of who that's a very external facing profile. But in the thinking, I think I evolved the ruthlessly committed part. I've definitely, in the last, I'd say 10 years of my career, evolved from being a pure creative leader to a leader with purpose to drive impact, and evolving my philosophy that we can use creativity to make the world a better place.
Amen.
And I think, and I think that, what's my gift? Creativity. What's my purpose? To make the world a better place. Make impact, meaning leave it better than we found it. And not in an egotistical way, but why was I here? Why was I put here? And part of it is trying to make good humans, those two girls that I'm so incredibly proud of. And part of it is like, what is my role in making a more equitable, a more sustainable, a more accessible planet?
So I'm going back to external commentary that you've shared, so forgive me. But you have this other line, I believe, diversity drives business and creativity can change culture. I'd love to deconstruct the meal, right? So let's start with first, in your mind, how do you define diversity in this context?
For me, diversity is, let's think of it two ways. There's diversity of thought, right? We want to bring diverse minds together to solve creativity, solving problems, right? And if you only have a homogenous point of view, then you're only going to get one kind of answer. And so in diversity of thought, thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, thinking about diversity of race, of gender, of religion, of orientation, of age, of ability, and all of those underrepresented minority groups that, especially coming from the ad world and the marketing world, where for the longest time it was very much a male-dominated industry and very much reflected the male gaze. Yeah. And so if we think about how we have both the responsibility and the power to change culture, right? This idea that we make content, we tell stories. Who creates and writes those stories and solves those problems, and who we choose to cast and collaborate with can really change the direction of that communication, and where I think how it can change cultures is normalizing certain things, evolving perspectives on how people are accepted. Not, if you think about work that's been done even with LGBTQ plus, how we represent families, or Black voices being representative in the creative process to tell more authentic stories and take away some of those conscious and unconscious biases in how we portray people. I look at diverse ability, and it was eye-opening for me. I work with some people at Disney that shared just a simple data point that if counted, the diversely abled group is the largest minority group because it affects 1 in 4 people on the planet, because it's intersectional. And when you look at the way the diversely abled are represented both in as cast and in content, and also who's writing the content and creating the content, it's really, really underrepresented. So that's where I feel like those kind of things give power to the power of what we can do, the expression of what we can do.
I mean, I'm kind of going back to your comment earlier about banning anti-aging as a thought. I mean, here, look, everything that I learned in the business was like, can you find an authentic differentiator and own it? Put your foot down and like, that's what we are. And so it would be odd to me. I mean, look, I'm a white dude speaking here, right? So,
I noticed, yeah.
right, I'm not sure if
Well
you knew,
done.
right? White guy here with a point of view. But like you said, how differentiated are you? You are, as someone who's got experience and perspective from a woman's lens. And again, look, I grew up right across the street from you on 350 Hudson at Mester Viteri Burger McNamee Schmitter. Say that 3 times real fast. So I know what our business really used to be, and I champion exactly what you're talking about. It's like, how does creativity play? How do we get the right stories out there? And I feel like it is getting better. It is getting more interesting. It is getting more unique. Do you feel that way, or do you feel like, no, Ryan, you know, like, that's white dude speaking? Like, I'd love to get your thought on this.
I do think it's getting better because, like, if I think about it, my journey, the timeline, right? Like, I don't think when I started in this business, I realized it's going to be a tough road because I'm a woman. Didn't cross my mind. And but I did realize it was very much a boys' club. It was very much the guys, and like a very tough environment, very competitive, and sort of, after Saatchi, I did my stints at BBDO, and it was like, if you don't come in Sunday, don't come in Monday, right? And sitting across from the desk from people that like looking at my work saying, I'm kind of a guy's guy, so I don't get it. And having interviews for a new position with a female partner, and the executive creative director wanting to meet us because we couldn't be delicate flowers and work out in the culture. And so, I think that's when I talk about, like, about 10 years ago when I started, there was a journey from being a creative to leading creative. And that's when it started to become more and more obvious that there weren't very many female creative directors, forget female CCOs, right? And so about 10 years ago, the 3% conference was started. I was in Chicago at the time at DDB Chicago. And I was a group creative director, and I saw this come up, and I'm like, this is really interesting to me, because I always believed that if I just put my head down and I worked really hard, my work would get noticed and I would rise. And that wasn't happening. Or it was happening, but it felt like I had to work twice as hard to get just as far. And what started happening is, like, you have to build your personal brand, which you learn these things as you go along. And there's sort of there was a loop of, what create success in the ad world. You do great work, your work gets recognized and gets awards, you get, promoted, you get raises, you win new business. So it's kind of that system of awards. And if that's just through the male lens, and the same people are judging and the same people are awarding the same kind of work. So that loop, I feel, has definitely been broken because of awareness to that. And I go back to something like the 3% conference, which, my dear friend Kat Gordon started, and she saw this data point as a female creative director. I think she was at Hal Reiney at the time. She's like, only 3% of creative directors are women. So this is 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
I think now it's above and beyond 13, 18%, which is a big jump. But it wasn't until she put a data point against it and called attention to it, said, what are we going to do to drive gender equity in this industry? Which then evolved into, wait a minute, white women, because granted, I'm going to raise my hand to the privilege, we all carry our privilege, and white women are just one rung under the ladder under white men. So it became more expansive into intersectional diversity of, like, it's not just good enough to get white women in there. We have to expand it to all women, diverse women. Then is it really, like, look at underrepresented minorities again, how few Black creative creatives and creative leaders are. But when you think about the change, now there are a lot of women I can look at in my circle, white, black. My friend Shannon Washington just became the first Black female CCO as the CCO of RGA. Like, good on her, first. 2023, right? But there are more global, Susan Cradle was one of my, mentor sponsors, and she was the first female CCO at Leo, and then Susan Hoffman too at Wyden, and then she's global. And she, I've heard an anecdotal story recently. It was like, why did she take the global CCO role at FCB? She's like, because I felt I had to for the community, to be the first and change that. And then, it changes with Liz Taylor and Judy John, and then there's more. So it's kind of, yes, you look around and you go, this is really evolving. Are we at parity? No way.
Yeah.
I was in a meeting yesterday. I'm a member of Chief, and Chief is an organization of women, which has grown exponentially. It's the answer to the boys club. It's the girls club, women's club, of how do we have this private group that help connect women and get more women to the C-suite and help keep them there. And we have a thing called Chief Core. So it's myself and 6 other women with a coach, and we meet monthly just to connect and set goals and share notes. And it's kind of a personal board of directors when you think about it. And there's a chief partnered with IBM to do a study, and I don't have the numbers, but the slide that was shared yesterday, but there is an optimistic view that we are much better from a gender and a diversity space in executive leadership roles. But the reality is there's a much bigger gap. So there's perception, reality. I think we've done a really great marketing job.
Yeah.
To say, look at how good we're doing, how well we're doing in equity, but we're still far behind where we need to get to parity.
So I believe diversity drives business. That's the first part of this. And then and you believe creativity can change culture. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, not to skip over the diversity can drive business, because there's data that proves, and there was a study that was done, that diverse teams drive 19% higher levels of innovation.
Wow.
So I think in business, the business of creativity, data points are really important. As far as the second one being creativity can change culture, I think that's a direct response of, if we use our creative powers for good and storytelling and how we show and reflect the diversity among us, the communities we serve, that can influence acceptance and disrupt stereotypes. And whether it's about aging, whether it's about Black people in the community and their role and their potential, and this philosophy of see it, be it, right? Really reflecting in a positive way and a possible way all different kinds of people.
It's funny when I read creativity can change culture, I break it into 2. I break it into culture, where we're living, our communities, but I also see it as a great tool to break internal culture, right? Like,
totally,
right? Like, how do you, like, to your point, data matters, right? Like, it takes all of the bias away when you have such a true insight, and it's unemotional. It's just a fact, right? Like you said, the 19% number, right, of diverse teams are what, I don't want to bastardize it. 19% of diverse teams are.
Oh, according to World Economic Forum, a study found that companies with more diverse management teams have 19% higher revenues due to innovation.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It goes back to, like, when the 3% was founded, it was founded too on the fact that, again, I'm going to really round off the numbers. 85% of financial decisions in the home are made by women. 90+% of women felt alienated by advertising and marketing messages. So we're leaving a lot of dollars on the table if we're not connecting with our audience in an authentic way.
By the way, only 85%. I mean, in my house, it's like 95%.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I'm 100%. So
Yeah.
again, I have a little bit of a bias there. But I do think that I love your push on culture because I think creativity as a culture driver is massive, drives massive potential.
Yeah.
And I think we both come from, protect creativity. We are creatives. What does that even mean? But really creativity is problem solving in a unique
Yeah.
way, right? And thinking about the leaders of the future need to be creative and innovative to drive success, right? And to drive successful teams. So to infuse a culture of creativity and diversity of thought into an organization means we are going to think differently and we are going to open up this expansive way of like there's sort of fixed mindset versus growth mindset, right? Which again can be like, closed-minded thinking versus open and expansive thinking. And I think it's also like how do we put innovation as putting two things together to create something new. You can do that with people too. So this idea of expansive creativity, I also think creative is really, really, really thrives in a culture of fun and play. We're like, that my job as a creative director was always to like, how do I create the playpen and put this and protect the kids inside to play and come up with great ideas and then protect those ideas. And then also to take away the fear. I think fear inhibits creativity and fear of failure. And to really encourage an environment and a mindset of failing forward. We even did it at Disney. We established a Fail Forward Award. And every quarter we'd give out awards of like who failed the hardest.
See, this is such a great example of like this is creativity at work. Like, right? Brand it, give it meaning, make it part of the process, and state it and create it. And like I love that you guys did this.
Yeah, it's tricky because when you work at legacy brands, it's this is how we've done it. We do tend to think more in a fixed mindset. So and you'd have no offense, but marketing strategy partners who would say that why are you bringing me ideas that we didn't ask for? I'm like, maybe you're not asking the right question.
Yeah.
And so what we started to but then you get into the battle of, is it creativity for creative sake? Then that feels indulgent, right?
Mm.
Versus creativity to solve a business problem, which ultimately the ultimate end result is driving the business, driving revenue, winning hearts, minds, spirits, and wallets. So it's really reframing and listening, but also educating in the power of a great creative idea is proven to have more efficacy. And so that is that partnership of I hear you. And so how do you do it in small and or big steps? Like, okay, here's what you asked for. I would always have my teams put a what if slide into the end of the deck. Okay, we answered it because when you ignored the question, it doesn't work as well. People want to see what they asked for. Okay, we brought that. What if we did this? Maybe it's not in that media. Maybe it's not a typical TV spot. Maybe it's an experience. Maybe it's a new product. Maybe it's a whole different experience that we could solve that would bring people in. So that's the fun part. That's the really exciting part. And to get people on board to collaborate in that space is a creative culture.
See, for the one like monster that resonates the most for me is you're never done educating. Right.
You're never done learning either.
You're never done learning, no doubt. Right. No doubt. I found I basically had to like eject myself out of my last life, which was an agency owner that would get a call to help clients tell the universe why they're sliced bread. And often there was fear in the subtext of what was being asked. What was the fear? Can you do it for this cost? Why? Because these other 7 agencies said they could do it for that cost. Why? Because, dude, can you give me a win with my C-suite? Right? All these things. And okay, well, if I tell the story to the outside world, will the culture, your actual culture, be proud of that idea? Will there be a head nod? Or is it so far removed from the reality of your culture that they're going to look at it and it's going to hurt your own internal culture? And they're like, dude, can you help me or not? And I'm like, this is my problem. Like, I acknowledge that I'd landed myself in a transactional arena that I wasn't happy with anymore. So when I read creativity could change culture, often now I'm like, okay, I got to get to the leadership level where everyone's living on the other side of the brain and like educate them. I'm still learning too, but educate them on like how creativity can help. How do you help people feel about your brand? Not just the money, not just the dollars and cents. I mean,
Yeah.
you're in two massive organizations, Disney and Walmart. Talk to me about what that was like being the one of the only ones, we'll say, on the feeling side of the brain. If you without throwing anyone under the bus, I'm curious what this was like.
Well, it was a shock, think about left brain, right brain. Some people believe in the philosophy of it and the science of it, some people don't. I believe in it. And coming from the agency side, I definitely lived on the creative side of the brain, and it was creativity at all costs. And you leave bodies, it doesn't matter by
Right,
any means necessary, right?
right.
And it's a little bit of be careful what you wish for. Like when I was recruited to Disney, I was looking at other CCO roles, and it was really interesting to look at brand side. I'm like, I was a little bit frustrated by just working on one section of the pie for a brand, right? And this idea of we're brand builders, we're brand gatekeepers, but we only got have one little gate, which is this, paid marketing, paid advertising, and getting into the brand and what the brand, to your point, the brand purpose and the mission and the vision and the personality and the expression, and the voice and the visual ID. And so I think I have this tendency, and I have in life, and it's gotten me far, but it's also gotten me in trouble, of how hard could it be? I just have this like, jump off how hard could it be? Childbirth without drugs, how hard could it be? Going from brand side to agency side to brand side, how hard could it be? Moving across the country.
Good
And
t-shirt.
it was hard, and it was kind of, I liken it to being dropped in a foreign country. I had the great experience of studying design in Milan when I was in college, and I did a semester abroad, which was phenomenal. Expansive for the brain. I didn't speak Italian. How hard could it be? Met my ex-husband at a Ramones concert, married an Italian, had a couple kids. How hard could that be? Very hard, apparently. But I liken the experience of going brand side, especially someplace like started at Disney, which was very corporate. Even though it's one of the biggest creative companies, it's still an operational, very corporate company, and matrixed, hierarchical. And I felt like I'd been dropped in a foreign country. I didn't know the language, I didn't know the culture, I didn't know the people. And so it was very humbling to learn that. And I think, again, at agency side, again, you push forward, we got to push this idea through, we got to push the idea through. And it was very different to lean back and go, okay, where are my relationships? Who do I need to partner with to get this done? What's the education process? How much are you going to bite off? What's the incremental steps? And to your point, is the culture ready for this idea? Does this reflect the brand now, who we are? How do we move forward? And how do we get there? And you have to win hearts and minds and spirits inside, almost more important than outside.
Totally agree.
And so, and I also think it was such a shift in volume for me, like really thinking about, taking on, this internal agency was 250 people, right? Of more in that creative services mindset. We're gonna be iterative. We're gonna make assets. We're going to do that, and then working with external agencies that had the creative strategy, that did more platform and campaign work, and then you to bring people on. Like I'm like, I don't want to be the people that create assets. So how do you build that as well? So you're teaching people, and you're bringing on new skill sets, you're growing, you're getting a little bit of that, you get that pain. And so you still have to get the stuff done, which is a lot. And it's, I think the first year, and you went, we did 17,000 initiatives, and you start to go, whew. And so you really have to learn, like, it's like, you have to learn, it's like not just a fire hose coming at you, it's 7. And choose your battles, and to, as a creative leader, not to get caught up in the weeds, and empower others to grow your power, and also to stay high and what's important. But I do think, again, looking at that time now, when I have the time to reflect, you can't do everything. You can't help everyone. You can't get involved with every campaign. You want to get down to the nitty gritty, but it'll drown you. So and it is that like that kind of crazy loop of I want to be here for the people to get to the vision. And you have to also take care of yourself.
I mean, first of all, lots of thoughts. I mean, one, I wish every agency, if you're an agency person, have the courage to ask your favorite client, let me come spend a week with you. Let me spend 2 weeks with you in the office. No agenda other than I want to know what it's like to walk in your shoes. Because like you said, you learned a lot when you got parachuted in. I learned a lot when I got parachuted in at the leadership level. It wasn't even creative people, it was the other side of the brain to try to understand their world. And two, and I'm curious on your thought on this, it's just as hard for them to understand what the heck we're talking about,
Totally.
right? It's just as much like they're like, I look at P&Ls, I wear khakis every day, lovingly, right? Like it's not their fault. So
Excel did my head in. I'm like, why am I working in Excel? Like, it's bad enough to be working in PowerPoint,
right.
which is like the kiss of death, but then you're working in Excel. And it's so funny because thinking about the left and right side of the brain. One of the successes I think we had as a team is I worked very closely with the media team, and the media team was pushing data, and it was science and science. And as I talked creativity, it was more nebulous. Data was, hard fact on the Excel. You could tell what we had to do and where to do it. And so what I learned is relationships and partnerships. And you said it before, what's the simplest expression of this that people can understand? When and so I had a partnership with the head of media, and we did these digital days together, and both the creative side and the media side, to help educate people what's innovative, what's happening, and just get into the vernacular. It's a very analog team, but data plus creativity equals magic.
Oh, that sounds very Disney.
Very Disney. So what is the cultural, learn the language, understand the culture and the people. And this is something that can be good. When you put those two together, it's 1 + 1 = 3, which is very Disney as well. It's exponential. So it is sprinkling a little magic on it and I've also learned that really simplifying, be clear, right? We can be a little bit navel gazing and talk in philosophies and to inspire people and to gain relationships. Be as clear as you possibly can and be consistent to help people go, I got it. I understand where we need to go. I can take that really clearly and go with it. I want to circle back to something you said. I hate the word circle back. I never said that. Stupid.
Okay. Square back.
See, I worked at brand side for 6 years. That's why I say that stuff. Think out of the box, all that stuff. I think there's a massive opportunity coming from agency side, being brand side, seeing the gaps in the, it's a Mars and Venus experience, right? If we go back way back, machine men and women, but we speak different languages. And I think agencies can learn a lot, to your point, understanding really what clients and brands need to do, want to do, how they operate. And I think brands can learn a lot on how to treat agency creatives and strategists as partners, not vendors. So I think there's this client vendor relationship that's prolific in the industry, which does not drive
it's got to go away.
Creative product.
It's got to go away. And again, this is also why I think I left agency life as we once knew it, and because I felt like I couldn't make that impact. Like even when you talk about the 19% statistic, think about how far advanced for something to become a statistic. The work had to have been done 2 years, 3 years. Someone
Totally.
had the thought, a high level thought to go, this collision isn't working anymore. The collision must be from different perspectives of people that have open minds that can still, by the way, banter.
Totally.
And collide. And then that's, to your point, that's where the magic happens. Like that's no different than this exact same problem. But that means that I think brands, if you are a leader of a brand, now we'll do this the other way. If you are the leader of the brand and somehow you've decided to give us 50 minutes of your day, and we're in your ear right now, how do you give your partners, and that's what they are, permission to understand your reality? And by the way, agency side, to your right, because it was win awards at all costs. Why? One, well, my boss told me that was important too. Deep down, I know it's going to advance me.
Yeah, it's
Deep-
validation. It's external, that goes back to external validation. I did it. They like me. They really, really like me. I'm good enough. We all have that imposter syndrome. We all have that itty bitty shitty committee in our heads to go, not good. Creativity, especially. Am I going to be creative enough today? Am I creative enough? Um, and I think awards help agencies win clients, and I think they help retain talent, and I think it helps talent grow. So it's tricky, but it's interesting, the whole idea of awards, because I believe in them. I think it helps elevate the bar. I think it helps teach people. And I think when it feels like it's a jury of your peers and say, this is really great work, I need to up my game, or wow, look what they did. And you can use it as case studies, right? When I was first at Disney, and I was invited to judge at Cannes, and I want us to get involved, and it was like, yeah, that's really, again, seen as indulgent. And for me, at the brand side, why it was important for me as the creative leader of this team was to show that we were in the game and we were legit, and to attract talent, that we are going to you're going to get work in this game. And so you're not going to become irrelevant, because I think there's this fear for really good creatives that if they go brand side, they're going to become invisible and get soft and not do great work.
Wow. That's heavy.
Yeah. And it's interesting because seeing really great marketers who believe in the power of creativity to drive business. Fernando, who was the CMO at Burger King, yeah, like just an amazing creative mind, right? And a believer in creative product. And he was speaking at one of the One Club leadership retreats, and I found him fascinating. And he talked about, how do you get your clients to get excited about awards, and why, right? And it was really like, bring them up on the stage with you so they can feel that thrill of the win and feel like they are part of, look at what we did together, and then look at the results.
If this is not to, my visceral on that is a tactic. That is a tactic you can absolutely use. I adored your data plus creativity equals magic. Did I get that right?
I don't know if we said, I think it might have been science plus math plus creativity equals magic.
Science plus math. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Science plus creativity. So, and the reason I bring that up now, you had said something. I think when you win over somebody's heart, when you win over somebody's mind, so heart plus mind equals trust.
Yeah.
And I think anything I've ever done that was meaningful was rooted in trust. And great. I think we know where great work is, but it's a relative battle. It's like the little yodeler in Price is Right, right? To bring them along and to explain why we're making these moves that we're making. And when someone shows up differently, they feel the energy that this is different, and there's confidence that's coming from it. It's like you talked about Italy being dropped into a different country. Being dropped into brand is probably being dropped into a different country. And if you can become the translator that you are and start to build trust, you actually have a shot to do magic and to make the work that you're talking about. Now, I know we're kind of running out of time here, and I'd love to bring us back to the here and now. I'm like really curious to hear what success looks like for you next. And do you have like a criteria that you've written where you're like, here are the 7 boxes I'm going to check off? Like, you're judging them as much as they're critiquing you. Is that where you're at?
I don't think it's as scientific as that. So maybe I should write a list.
Okay.
I am doing a lot of work and strategy on what's next. And I was very intentional about taking time and saying, I'm not going to stress about this. I'm not going to worry about the next thing. I'm going to like give myself the permission to pause and rest and reflect. And so I'm, new year, new birth year, right? So like, okay, it's kind of skimmed through January, and I was still in the sort of pajama mode. or yoga mode, whatever it was. And then so February is like, okay, Jean, what do you, and I have been having conversations with different brands. And I have, I've always been one in my career to say, take the call. It can never hurt to take the call. But I do have a different criteria on culture, on appetite for creativity, for purpose. Purpose is really on the top of my list. I think there's two P words on the top of my list. And again, as a creative, love alliteration because it's sticky. Purpose and peace. I am not going to sacrifice the peace that I have gained in my life, the quality of living in my life for everything, right? And so I want to work for creativity for purpose and impact, whether it be at a brand or whether it be consulting or whether it be starting my own thing, and make sure, I think success to me now is more about freedom and time and health. And
Beautiful.
yeah, and I think living a life that's, we have to make a living, but we have to live our lives. And so it's really like a reframe for me on that.
Well, I'm really glad that we found some time and space for this. And it's just called.
Thank you for inviting me and inviting me again. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, look, this is
you hit me at a good time this time.
I know. I'm like, this might be it. I might be able to actually get her on the show. Since this is called the Courageous Podcast, if there was one sort of brave nugget you would leave with the listener, what do you got?
Can I have two?
Permission granted.
Thank you. And just asking that question goes to my first one. Ask for what you want. You will absolutely not get what you don't ask for. And it has been a career and a life changer for me, especially as a woman, especially as a mother, asking to a longer leave, asking to work remotely before it was even heard of, asking to take summers off because that's when my kids were off, and asking for more money, asking what I needed to do for the title. Give me specifics, make it actionable. So I tell that to all my mentees. And I think the other one goes back to something we talked about. Do not be afraid to fail, to take risks, and think about that. What is the absolute worst that could happen?
I love it.
You learn something.
Whenever the art of the unpause comes back.
You mean the art of the pivot?
Okay, that's better. But the art. You have another P, by the way.
I have another P.
You have another
I have
P.
two books, two podcasts.
I love it. Maybe you'll come back and share if it's staying on brand for you, and we'll give you 6 months or something just to make sure we don't, give you enough time to figure things out in your new language. Shit done? Yeah.
Yeah, but I've learned that the other P is I'm a massive procrastinator, and through creative, I'm really much better with a deadline. So self-inflicted deadlines are key to me right now.
I have to tell you, I don't think you're alone in that, but I also think we couldn't come up with a better word than deadline. Really, deadline. That's the best.
That's brilliant.
That's the best we could come
Killing
up with.
Me, Smalls.
But anyway, all right, Jean. Thank you so much.
Ryan, thank you so much.
Take care. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.